The cheap fluorescent lights of the hospital corridor hummed overhead, reflecting harshly off the linoleum floor. I'd pushed myself too hard for the company's sake, enduring endless toasts at the client dinner until the cheap liquor finally tore through. My stomach lining, gastric bleeding, the doctor had murmured grimly. As they wheeled me towards a room, blurry shapes resolved into focus. My wife, Evelyn Jiang, arm in arm with a younger man, Liu Gu, a junior colleague from her university days. She saw me, pale and reeking of alcohol. A flicker of distaste crossed her perfect features. She instinctively covered her nose, pulling Leo away as if I were contagious. Even as the distance grew, I could faintly hear her instructing him. Next time you see someone filthy and stinking like that, just keep your distance. I spent 3 days adrift in the sterile white world of the hospital. When I finally returned home, dragging my weary body across the threshold, the apartment felt strangely cold. Driven by a nameless dread, I checked under the bed. There it was, a single, used condom wrapper lying starkly against the dusty floorboards. In that instant, the gnawing pain in my gut was eclipsed by a far sharper agony, the profound ache of betrayal. Humiliation washed over me, hot and suffocating. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone, the screen blurring through sudden tears. Mom, I choked out, the word unfamiliar on my tongue after so long. I was wrong. I want to come home. My mother's voice, when she answered, was laced with the familiar blend of sharp sarcasm and underlying concern. Well, if it isn't Mr. Arthur Chi, gracing me with a call. What happened? Did the little prince finally realize his folly? Aren't you supposed to be charging into battle for love? Where's your precious romance now? I told you from the start, Evelyn Jiang never looked at you with love in her eyes. A love that unequal was never going to last. I listened silently, absorbing the I told you so's. She was right. This was entirely my own doing. After venting her fill, she let out a final, clipped huff. If you want to come back, just come back. Did you really need to call first? Just as I hung up, the bedroom door opened. Evelyn stood there, her expression darkening instantly upon seeing me. So, you finally decided to show up. Where have you been these past few days? Do you have any idea how busy I've been? Mr. Chen's project almost went sideways. Did you know that? Her barrage of accusations almost made me doubt my own reality. Had I done something wrong? 3 days ago, the crucial dinner with Mr. Chen, our potential key client. We needed this deal. The meeting was set for 7. Evelyn, responsible for bringing the finalized proposal, hadn't arrived by 8. Panic clawed at me. I frantically arranged for someone back at the office to reprint everything while simultaneously placating Mr. Chen, apologizing profusely, and matching him drink for drink. Shot after shot of fiery baijiu burned down my throat. It was a reckless, self-destructive performance, but it worked. Mr. Chen's stern facade eventually softened, and he grudgingly agreed to give our company another chance. I barely made it out of the restaurant before collapsing. Next thing I knew, I was in the hospital. 3 whole days. And in that time, Evelyn hadn't just failed to visit. She hadn't even bothered with a single phone call, a single text. And what about you? I finally retorted, the words raw with pain and anger. Why did you stand me up that night? Don't you know perfectly well why? What were you so busy doing? Busy having barbecue with your precious Leo? Busy stargazing with him on some romantic hilltop? Busy screwing him in our bed? Her reaction was swift and violent. A sharp slap cracked across my face. You're disgusting, she spat. I rubbed my stinging cheek, a bitter smile twisting my lips. I pointed towards the floor beneath the bed. If you like him so much, why bother with the condom? Why not just have his baby? Evelyn froze, her head snapping towards the spot I indicated. Her lips parted, then closed. She looked trapped, guilty. It's not what you think, she finally stammered, the denial utterly unconvincing. How did I know her exact movements? Because Leo, the smug little parasite, had added me on WeChat weeks ago. His daily social media updates were a running commentary on their burgeoning love story, each post a carefully aimed barb meant to torture me. I turned and walked numbly into the living room, collapsing onto the sofa. The thought of sleeping in that bed, knowing what had happened there while I was gone, it made my stomach churn anew. It felt contaminated, dirty. Seeing me close my eyes, ignoring her, Evelyn seemed to have a rare moment of uncertainty. She actually approached me, her voice softer now. What do you want for lunch? I can make something for you. My eyes snapped open. Had I heard correctly? Evelyn Jiang, the self-proclaimed 21st century woman, who preached career over kitchen, who disdained marriage and domesticity. For the 5 years we'd been together, through the lean startup days and the eventual success of the company she founded, With my unseen backing and effort, I had been the one who managed the household, the cooking, the cleaning. Her pursuing her ambition was something I'd admired and supported. And now she was offering to cook for me. Was this guilt? A clumsy attempt at appeasement? If this had been the old Arthur, the one hopelessly besotted, I would have beamed, eagerly telling her anything she made would be delicious. Now, I just closed my eyes again, indifference a heavy cloak. Don't bother. The hospital stay had drained me, but the emotional exhaustion was worse. All I wanted was to sleep, then buy a ticket home, far away from here. Hearing no response, Evelyn went into the kitchen anyway. The clatter and banging of pots and pans was a grating soundtrack as I drifted into a troubled sleep. Her voice eventually roused me. Hey, wake up. Lunch is ready. I opened my eyes and stared at the coffee table, now covered in takeout containers. Every single dish swam in a sea of chili oil, Sichuan style. The mere sight sent a spasm of pain through my stomach. Evelyn, oblivious or perhaps deliberately obtuse, even picked up a piece of fiery maochuang with her chopsticks and placed it in my bowl, beaming as if presenting a prize. I didn't touch it. Instead, I looked directly at her. You wanted to know where I was for the last 3 days? My voice was flat, devoid of emotion. I was in the hospital. Stomach. Hemorrhage. You saw me there, didn't you, Evelyn? That day in the corridor. But you couldn't spare a single second to stop, to ask why your partner was being wheeled through a hospital. She stared, stunned for a beat, then slammed her chopsticks down onto the table, fury replacing shock. Oh, I see. So now you're blaming me for ordering spicy food. Didn't I ask you what you wanted? You didn't say a word. How was I supposed to know you had stomach bleeding? What's with the passive-aggressive bullshit? You're the one who loves Sichuan food, Evelyn, I stated calmly. You and Leo. I only ever ate it to accommodate your tastes. A faint smile touched my lips as I looked at her beautiful, sharp-featured face. I had been captivated by more than just her looks. It was her fierce determination, her resilience, that had truly drawn me in. I first saw her during my sophomore year. She was a senior, addressing the incoming freshmen at the opening ceremony, an outstanding student sharing her experiences. Poised, confident, utterly unfazed by the large audience. I learned later she came from poverty, relying entirely on scholarships and student loans. From then on, I watched her from afar, quietly admired her drive. I even secretly arranged for intermediaries to handle bullies who tried to target her because of her background. She despised the arrogant rich kids who flaunted their family wealth, so I hid my own affluent background, approaching her carefully, cautiously. I even had a massive falling out with my family upon graduation, refusing their path. For me, choosing instead to invest my time, energy, and eventually, hidden funds, into helping her build her dream company from scratch. It took 2 years of shared struggle and quiet support before she finally agreed to be with me. Even then, she insisted on keeping our relationship a secret. She had strict rules against office romance for employees and felt she couldn't be the exception. Through storms and successes, the company flourished. I thought our bond was strong, unbreakable. I was just waiting for the right moment to reveal my true identity, my family connections, and propose properly. Then Leo Gu reappeared in her life, and everything started to crumble. The screech of her chair scraping against the floor jolted me back to the present. She was getting up, ready to storm out again in a huff. I took a deep breath. Evelyn, I said, the words tasting like finality, let's break up. She spun around, disbelief warring with scorn on her face. After a pause, she sneered, Are you sure about that, Arthur? Why wouldn't I be? I countered, a coldness settling deep within me. What makes you possibly think I would stay with someone who cheats on me, who humiliates me like this? Her only answer was the deafening slam of the front door. I pulled out my phone, intending to book that ticket home immediately. But my old travel app, and used for so long, demanded I re-upload my ID for verification. Annoyed, I searched the apartment, but my documents were nowhere to be found. They must be at the office. Dragging my exhausted body, I headed there. As I passed the break room, snippets of conversation drifted out clearly. Did you hear? Leo burned his hand yesterday. That's why Evelyn apparently ditched the client meeting. She was too busy taking care of him. Someone saw them stargazing on Mount Cinder all night. So romantic. Seriously? But what about Arthur? He's done so much for this company. Yeah, well, what can you do? He chose to be the devoted doormat, asking for nothing in return. A man needs ambition, not just lovesickness. Now look, love's gone, and his career here, probably hanging by a thread too. Mr. Chi, you're here. My assistant Sam Lee's startled voice cut through the chatter. The group in the break room turned simultaneously, their faces a mixture of embarrassment and pity. I managed a tight smile. Sam, could you find my ID card for me, please? I turned and walked away, ignoring their awkward silence. With the holidays approaching, flights were scarce. It took some frantic searching, but I finally managed to snag a seat on a flight 2 days later. The thought of returning to that apartment was unbearable. Besides, I had nothing left there worth packing. I checked into a decent hotel nearby, planning to just sleep until my flight. Truthfully, I hadn't had a proper rest in years. Sinking into the hotel's soft, enveloping bed, oblivion claimed me almost instantly. I woke late the next morning, the sun streaming through the window. I just ordered some room service when my phone rang. It was the company's HR department. Mr. Chi? Ms. Jiang reviewed the attendance records today and noted you neither clocked in nor applied for off-site work. She stated that no one gets special privileges and asked me to inquire why you haven't come to the office. I recognized this tactic. This was Evelyn's version of an apology, her way of extending an olive branch without actually admitting fault. If I returned to the office, it would signify my acceptance, and she could pretend none of it, the cheating, the neglect, the hospital, ever happened. I've submitted my resignation through the company portal, I said calmly. Please inform Ms. Jiang. As I ended the call, I heard a loud crash from the other end, like something heavy being thrown. Predictably, my phone rang again almost immediately. Evelyn, Arthur Chi, people change, people move forward. The lifeline I'm offering you won't be there forever. You better think damn carefully about this. Her deep-seated insecurity, born from her impoverished past, always manifested as aggression, a need to dominate. In the past, hearing that tone, I would have immediately swallowed my pride, apologized regardless of who was right, and smoothed things over. But now, I had decided to let go of the love. It was time to reclaim my dignity. That advice cuts both ways, Evelyn. I replied coolly. Nobody stays in the same place forever. And for the first time in our entire relationship, I hung up on her. After eating, with unexpected free time stretching before me, I decided to walk to a nearby cinema. There was a movie I'd been wanting to see for ages. Its trailer had intrigued me months ago. When it was released, I'd asked Evelyn to go with me, a proper date, something we hadn't done in over 6 months. She'd brush me off. Arthur, we're not teenagers anymore. The company's in a critical growth phase. Spending 2.5 hours in a dark room is a waste of time we could be using to work. Buying the ticket, the cashier mentioned it was the film's last day in theaters. Just in time, I thought wryly. Just like my choice about our love. Leaving the theater, mentally grumbling about misleading trailers, I rounded a corner and froze. There stood Evelyn and Leo, walking hand in hand towards the concession stand. Evelyn's initial smiling expression vanished the moment she saw me, replaced by a thunderous scowl. Arthur Chi, you're nearly 30. Are you seriously resorting to childish stalking games? Is this fun for you? You were the one who initiated the breakup. I'm not interested in playing your pathetic push-and-pull games. Leo chimed in, his voice dripping with false sincerity. Evelyn, Arthur is just here because he cares about you. He turned to me. Arthur, please don't misunderstand. This movie is ending its run today, and I really wanted to see it. I don't have many other friends here, so I asked Evelyn to come with me. I shoved my hands in my pockets, regarding them both with cold disdain. Evelyn and I have broken up. Mistresses are common enough, I suppose, but male mistresses? A rare breed. Congratulations on your promotion, Leo. I paused, letting the insult land. Oh, by the way, I added casually, the movie? Absolute trash. Just like the company you keep. Their faces flushed, alternating between red and pale green. I turned to leave. Evelyn started to follow, wanting to argue, but Leo held her back. Evelyn, don't worry. He's just saying things out of anger. We can explain everything later. Everyone knows Arthur can't live without you. Back in the sterile quiet of my hotel room, I mindlessly scrolled through videos on my phone before falling asleep again. When I woke, hours later, my phone screen was filled with missed call notifications. Almost everyone from the company had tried to reach me. The topmost message was a frantic text from my assistant, Sam. Arthur, please answer your phone. Ms. Jiang is threatening to fire me. Evelyn knew how to twist the knife, targeting people loyal to me. Sam had been with me since the company's inception. I called him back immediately. What's going on? Arthur, you need to come to the office, quickly. There's a problem with the Chin contract. Mr. Chin is demanding to speak with you specifically. He says if he doesn't see you, he's pulling out. My gut clenched. I hailed a taxi immediately. Yes, it was Evelyn's company on paper. Yes, I had resigned. But I had poured years of my life, my energy, my hidden resources into building it. More importantly, many of the employees had been with us for years. I felt a responsibility towards them. Losing the Qin contract would likely bankrupt the company, leaving dozens jobless. This wasn't the time for personal grievances. When I arrived, Evelyn thrust the contract file at me. Fix this. As long as Mr. Qin signs, I'll forgive you for bringing up the breakup. You're delusional, I muttered, rolling my eyes before turning and walking into the conference room. I had always handled the Qin account. I'd researched him thoroughly, understood his personality, anticipated his concerns. I had counter-arguments prepared for every potential objection. After 2 intense hours of negotiation, laying out revised terms and reassurances, I finally secured his signature on the dotted line. As I exited the room, exhausted but relieved, Evelyn approached me, holding out a sleek, expensive-looking watch box. I knew you wouldn't let me down, she said, a hint of smug satisfaction in her voice. You did well. This is your reward. I glanced down at the familiar logo on the box, then back at her face. A bitter taste filled my mouth. Buy one, get one free? I asked, the sarcasm dripping from my voice. The irony must have been blatant. Her knuckles turned white as she gripped the box. Years ago, when we were just starting out, dreaming big, I'd idly pointed out a ridiculously expensive watch in a magazine. Evelyn, mistaking admiration for desire, had earnestly promised that one day, when she made enough money, she'd buy it for me. Year after year passed. The money came, more than enough. But the watch became, in her words, a frivolous extravagance. Yet now, on my way to the office earlier, a notification had popped up. Leo's latest social media post. Just happened to glance at this in the shop window, and my amazing Evelyn insisted on buying it for me. So expensive. Feeling guilty. Evelyn's comment below it read, nothing to feel guilty about. We earn money to be happy. If you're happy, I'm happy. A harsh, humorless laugh escaped me. I turned to leave, wanting nothing more than to escape this toxic atmosphere. Unexpectedly, Evelyn hurried after me. Does embarrassing me in public make you feel better, Arthur? Is your love really that petty? It's not what you think between me and Leo. I can explain. Let's go home and talk properly. I sidestepped her reaching hand. I'm sorry, Ms. Jiang, but we've already broken up. I flagged down a passing taxi. As I climbed in, I saw her in the rearview mirror, standing frozen for a moment before scrambling to follow in her own car. Predictably, she was waiting for me when I got out at the hotel, her expression furious, accusatory. So that's why you were so insistent on breaking up. You were cheating on me behind my back. I shot her a weary glance. The sheer audacity, the hypocrisy, was breathtaking. Ignoring her, I walked towards the hotel entrance. She followed close behind, her voice rising, attracting attention. For years, you lived off me, spent my money, and now you're using it to shack up with someone else in a hotel? How could you do this to me? Heads turned. Guests cast disapproving glances my way. Ignoring them, I addressed the front desk clerk, pointing back at Evelyn. People who haven't checked in aren't allowed in the guest room areas, correct? That's correct, sir. The clerk and a nearby security guard politely but firmly blocked Evelyn's path as I headed for the elevators. As the door slid shut, I heard her enraged voice shouting, Fine. Give me a room too. You can't possibly refuse a paying guest. After a long, hot shower, hoping to wash away the grime of the day, there was a knock at the door. Assuming it was my room service order, I opened it wearing only a towel wrapped around my waist. Evelyn stood there, her face a mask of fury. Seeing me, her eyes instantly reddened. With a shove, she pushed past me, storming into the room. Let me see her. Let me see what kind of cheap trash you dumped me for. She ripped open the bathroom door, checked behind the curtains, peered into the closet, even looked under the bed, her movements frantic. Finding nothing, she stood bewildered in the middle of the room. Since you haven't found anyone, I said coolly, perhaps Ms. Jiang would be kind enough to leave. To my utter astonishment, she started removing her clothes, her expression shifting abruptly from rage to a calculated, soft vulnerability. Arthur, she murmured, her voice husky, I know I've neglected you lately. You brought me here on purpose, didn't you? To make things right. I fought back a wave of nausea. Revolting. I choked out, the word sharp with disgust. Evelyn's face drained of color, then flushed crimson. Her eyes widened in disbelief. What did you just say? Steeling myself, I physically pushed her out of the room and slammed the door shut. Through the wood, I shouted. Who you were with before me, I don't care. Who you're with. After me, I don't care. But screwing another man while you were supposed to be with me? Do you think I'm that pathetic, that spineless, to just pretend it never happened? Arthur Chi, you'll regret this, she screamed back. I thought I'd made myself perfectly clear. I hoped for 2 days of peace before my flight. But the next day, my phone started ringing incessantly. Evelyn again. Staring at the vibrating screen, I reflected. Before we were together, during our relationship, I had always put myself second, catered to her every whim, allowed her to dictate the terms. No wonder she had the delusion that I was utterly indispensable, that I would always crawl back. If she was happy, I had to be happy with her. If she was upset, I bore the brunt of her anger. She was the goddess on the pedestal. I was the supplicant at her feet. My feelings were irrelevant to her. Well, no more. From this point on, her opinion of me, her need for me, meant absolutely nothing. I was about to block her number when a text message popped up. Answer the phone. It's about the company. The bait. Predictably, the phone rang again immediately. She knew I'd pick up. And, fool that I still was when it came to the company, I did. Give your art account to Leo, she commanded without preamble. And I'll forgive what you said yesterday. Realizing I'd been tricked, I paused. What did you say? I heard her take a deep breath, impatience coloring her tone as she repeated. I said, send me the login details for your art account. Didn't you hear me? She continued, as if explaining the most reasonable request in the world. Leo wants to study under a master of traditional Chinese painting. Your account doesn't show your face anyway. It's the perfect stepping stone for him. She spoke with such entitlement, as if asking me to grab her a coffee. Perhaps my silence conveyed my outrage, hinted that her demand was unreasonable even by her standards. She cleared her throat, adopting a softer, more wheedling tone. Arthur, Leo is like me. He's had a tough life, fought his way up. Besides, he's your junior from university too. For old time's sake, just give him the account. Please. I'm begging you. Art, especially traditional Chinese painting, had been my lifelong passion, instilled in me since childhood. I was reasonably accomplished. When short-form video platforms exploded, I'd started an account anonymously, sharing techniques and showcasing the beauty of the art form. I never monetized it, never had time for serious promotion. It only had about 100,000 followers. Even so, that account represented years of my passion, my effort, my soul. And she wanted me to just hand it over? With a single, casual demand? My continued silence clearly irritated her. Her voice hardened again, turning cold and sharp. I'll use one of my coins to trade for it. Even though I had already decided to end this, to walk away from this soul-crushing, unequal love, her words struck me like a physical blow, a sharp, sudden pang in my chest. After I'd cut ties with my family years ago, my mother had frozen my accounts. Combined with pouring everything into Evelyn's startup, the day we officially got together, I literally had only $5 in cash to my name. I went to a corner store and exchanged the bill for 5 1-yuan coins. 2 went into the bus fare box to take us back to our tiny office. The remaining 3, I pressed into Evelyn's palm. I promised her then, young and foolishly romantic, that she could use those 3 coins to ask anything of me. Anything within my power, I would grant. She used the first coin 6 months ago, on our 5th anniversary. Her request? That I not stop her from rushing off to care for Leo, who had conveniently come down with a fever that exact day. And now, the second coin. Again, for Leo. Later that afternoon, my phone pinged with a bank notification, a deposit of 300,000 yuan. Confused, I was logging into my banking app when Evelyn called again. Distracted, I answered. Leo said he couldn't take it for free, she announced briskly. Consider the 300K payment for the account. Honestly, if you ask me, with your small follower count, 100K would have been more than generous. Before I could respond, Leo's cheerful voice cut in. Arthur, thanks so much for your sacrifice. Evelyn's taking me out tonight to celebrate. Want to join us for drinks? Evelyn immediately shut him down. He's not feeling well. Let's just skip it. The line went dead. That evening, scrolling numbly through social media, I saw Leo's inevitable celebratory post. Celebrating tonight. With my amazing senior sister looking out for me, I don't have to worry about a thing. Attached was a 9-photo grid, helpfully documenting their night at a trendy bar. There was Evelyn, blushing prettily, nestled against Leo's chest. Another showed them playing the Pepero Kiss game, each nibbling one end of a long biscuit stick, gazing deeply into each other's eyes. The next photo showed the biscuit reduced to a mere centimeter between them. The final shot? Them locked in a passionate, open-mouthed kiss. If he hadn't posted, I might have forgotten he still had my contact information. Beneath his post, I typed a single comment. May you live happily ever after and have many children soon. You gold-digging parasite. Then, I blocked him. It was my last morning in this city. Thinking I might never return, I decided to try a local specialty restaurant I'd heard about. After showering and dressing, I pulled open my hotel room door and found Evelyn standing right outside. She confronted me immediately, displeasure etched on her face. I'm supposed to be your girlfriend, Arthur. And you're wishing me a happy life and babies with someone else? I sighed, weary beyond words. Ms. Jiang, how many times do I need to say it? We have broken up. She still seemed convinced I was playing hard to get. Why are you being so difficult? Don't you understand what a game is? That kiss meant nothing. She peered past me. Where are you going? I have time today. I can accompany you. Before I could refuse, she slipped past me and squeezed into the taxi I had just hailed. At the restaurant, she pointedly ordered several bland, non-spicy dishes. There, happy now? She asked, clearly referencing the disastrous takeout incident. I ignored the jibe, pretending to be engrossed in my phone. When we first got together, I treated her like a princess. She loved spicy food, so I ate it with her, secretly popping antacids afterwards, just to hear her say happily, "Oh, you like spicy food too?" The dishes arrived. She took one bite and wrinkled her nose in disgust. Bland. Tasteless. Hurry up and get your stomach fixed. I found a new hot pot place, really good. We'll go together when you're better. I looked up from my phone, meeting her eyes directly. I have never liked spicy food, Evelyn. You should go with Leo. We already went. She began, then stopped abruptly as she registered my unwavering gaze. Her face paled. A flicker of panic, then fear, crossed her features before hardening into annoyance. Why are you bringing him up again? Are you still holding a grudge about yesterday? Senior sister. A cheerful voice interrupted us. Leo appeared at the entrance of our private dining room. Evelyn's irritated expression instantly softened into a warm smile. Leo, what are you doing here? Meeting some friends, he beamed. Hey, why don't you join us? I'll introduce you. Without a second thought, Evelyn grabbed her purse and stood up. You finish up, she said to me dismissively. I'll come back and settle the bill later. The restaurant was an old-style place, with private rooms lining a main corridor on the ground floor. Through the slightly ajar door of a nearby room, I saw Evelyn slide into the seat next to Leo, laughing as he put his arm around her. The boisterous sounds of their group drifted clearly down the hall. Hey Leo, is this gorgeous lady your girlfriend? Someone called out. Evelyn didn't deny it. Instead, she blushed becomingly and greeted them. Hi everyone. Yes, I'm Leo's girlfriend. I stood up. Quietly, I went to the front counter and paid my bill. Then, I handed the waitress the bank card containing the 300,000 yuan. Could you please deliver this to the lady in room 103? I requested politely. Outside the restaurant, I snapped my phone's SIM card in half and dropped the pieces into a nearby trash bin. Then, I hailed a taxi straight to the airport. Hours later, the plane touched down in my home city. My older brother, Ethan Chi, leaned casually against his gleaming sedan, waving as I emerged from the terminal. He strode over, clapping me on the shoulder and smoothing out a wrinkle on my travel-worn shirt. Look who finally decided to come home and share the burden. Listen up, little brother. I'm giving you 1 month. Get up to speed, take over the reins. I promised your sister-in-law a long overdue vacation abroad, and I intend to keep my word. Back at the sprawling family estate, the aroma of my favorite dishes filled the air. My mother had instructed the household staff to prepare a feast. Seated around the grand dining table, surrounded by my family, raising glasses in a welcoming toast, a warmth spread through my chest, stinging my eyes. It felt so damn good to be home. Under Ethan's guidance, I plunged into the family business, quickly familiarizing myself with the operations. Work became my focus, consuming my days. The life I'd lived with Evelyn, the city I'd left behind, began to feel like a distant, hazy dream. It wasn't until I ran into my former assistant, Sam Lee, months later in the lobby of our corporate headquarters, that the past resurfaced vividly. He looked stressed, almost haggard. The company. It might go under, he confessed, looking uncomfortable. After you left, things got weird. There wasn't much for me to do, so I resigned. Decided to try my luck in the big city. I frowned. But how? When I left, the company was stable. We had the Qing contract. It hasn't been that long. What happened? Sam's expression turned even stranger. Arthur. Mr. Chi. You really don't know? Ms. Jiang was hospitalized. Collapsed from stress and rage. Because of Leo. According to Sam's account, the story after my departure had been incredibly dramatic. Sarah Sue, Evelyn's supposed best friend, the kind who were practically inseparable, turned out to be a snake. When the company was founded, Evelyn, in a fit of loyalty, had generously gifted Sarah 40% of the shares, even though Sarah had little involvement in daily operations. Apparently, Leo and Sarah had gotten involved. Evelyn walked in on them getting hot and heavy in her office, catching them red-handed. A vicious fight erupted between the two women. Leo, caught in the middle, initially took a few hits before suddenly slapping Evelyn hard across the face. The bombshell? Leo and Sarah were already secretly married. Leo had seemingly been playing a long game, cozying up to Evelyn, planning to squeeze me out, then manipulate Evelyn for her money and shares. But Evelyn discovered their affair before he could fully execute his plan. The shock and betrayal were so immense. Evelyn collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. With Evelyn incapacitated, Sarah, holding a significant stake, seized control. She systematically fired everyone loyal to Evelyn, replacing them with her own relatives and cronies. Although Evelyn technically held more shares, Sarah's ruthlessness suggested a long, ugly power struggle was inevitable. Dog eat dog. Arthur, Sam finished, looking at me earnestly. That company holds so much of your hard work too. Are you really just going to stand by and watch it burn? I shook my head. My dedication to that company had been intrinsically linked to Evelyn. With her out of my life, its fate was no longer my concern. Sam was competent and loyal. Since I needed an assistant anyway, I offered him the position on the spot. Life settled into a new rhythm. My biggest annoyance became my mother's relentless attempts to set me up on blind dates. Then, one afternoon, leaving the office building, I saw her, Evelyn, standing near the entrance, waiting. I glanced at Sam, who immediately avoided my gaze, looking guiltily at his shoes. He'd clearly leaked my location. Evelyn looked diminished. Thinner, lines of stress etched around her eyes, and shockingly, streaks of gray threaded through her once immaculate hair. She hurried towards me, clutching at my sleeve. You're Arthur Chi? Of the Chi Corporation? The second son. Her voice held a note of disbelief, quickly followed by demand. My company is falling apart. They've pushed me out. You have to help me. I pulled my arm free. Ms. Jiang, I said coolly, adopting the detached tone of the businessman I now was. I operate on profit and loss. Give me one compelling reason why helping you would be beneficial to me. Her eyes widened, incredulity warring with entitlement. I'm your girlfriend. What other reason do you need? The delusion was staggering. Don't you understand? I'm about to lose everything. And when I needed you most, you just disappeared. Is this some kind of cruel game you rich heirs play? Toying with people? Her words dripped with prejudice, as if my family's wealth automatically made me indebted to her, responsible for her misfortunes. We broke up over a year ago. Evelyn, I stated flatly. Your reasoning is flawed. Now, if you'll please excuse me. Her face contorted with rage. You want my company too, don't you? She shrieked, drawing attention from passers-by. You've been watching, laughing at my downfall. Haven't you? Her voice rose hysterically. Who said we broke up? Did I agree? You lied to me. You played with my feelings. You promised you'd love me forever. I'm telling you, she declared wildly. I never, ever agreed to break up. Chi Corporation must save my company. Her irrationality, her sheer madness, almost made me laugh. Psychotic, I muttered under my breath. Then, abruptly, her demeanor shifted again. She smoothed her hair, attempting to regain her former composed goddess persona. You always wanted to marry me, didn't you, Arthur? Fine, I'll give you the chance. Let's get married. Consider your deepest wish granted. I rolled my eyes, genuinely bewildered. The stress had clearly unhinged her. Are you seriously mentioning marriage? After you cheated on me with Leo, slept with him, publicly declared yourself his girlfriend? I'm not that pathetic, Evelyn. I haven't spent the last year pining away under the weight of that particular green hat. Don't mention him, she snapped. Leo is a liar. We have nothing to do with each other. You misunderstood everything. I had a meeting at 9:30. I had no more time or patience for this. I signaled for building security. Seeing the guards approach, Evelyn dissolved into tears, clutching at me again. We were together for so many years, Arthur. You love me so much. How could you just stop? Her voice cracked. Arthur, I know there have been so many misunderstandings between us lately. It was all my fault. I was deceived, truly. Just listen to my explanation, please. Evelyn, I said, my voice quiet but firm. Do you remember what you told me? Nobody stays in the same place forever. I don't love you anymore. And frankly, I don't want to see you ever again. She stopped struggling against the guards, her body going rigid. She stared at me, her eyes wide with incomprehension. Why? I didn't answer. If she still didn't understand after everything that had happened, what more could I possibly say? Evelyn lingered outside the building for 3 days before finally disappearing. I thought, perhaps, she had finally accepted reality. A week later, she was back. This time, she held out her hand. A single, worn coin lay glinting in her palm. You promised, she said, her voice trembling but determined. 3 coins, 3 wishes. My last wish, Arthur, is for us to get back together. You have to honor your promise. I looked at the desperate hope shining in her eyes. I took the coin from her, tossing it lightly in my hand. When I loved you, Evelyn, that promise meant everything. Now that I don't love you, the promise has expired. With a casual flick of my wrist, I tossed the coin. It landed on the pavement, rolled a few times, and then disappeared neatly through the grate of a nearby storm drain. No, Evelyn let out a strangled cry of despair. She scrambled over to the drain, dropping to her knees, peering into the darkness, tears streaming down her face. Why, she sobbed. Do you truly not love me anymore? I walked over and crouched down beside her, meeting her tear-filled gaze seriously. You betrayed me repeatedly for Leo. Why aren't you with him now? Oh, right. Because he betrayed and deceived you too. My voice was devoid of heat, just filled with a cold, hard clarity. Don't you find yourself disgusting, Evelyn? Your idea of love was taking everything from me while repeatedly sleeping with someone else. If you had just told me you didn't love me anymore, did you think I would have clung to you desperately? We could have just broken up cleanly. Instead, you chose betrayal, emotional and physical. You trampled my dignity again and again, all for Leo, because you were so certain of my love. But love isn't infinite, Evelyn. It needs nurturing. Without it, eventually, it just runs out. She slumped onto the pavement, enveloped in an aura of crushing despair. After a long moment, she lifted her head, her gaze locking onto mine. A strange, malicious smile touched her lips, though her eyes remained haunted. Arthur Chi, she said, her voice eerily calm. There's something I've kept from you for a long time. Actually, Leo was my first love. You were just the rebound. We were together in high school, secretly. Nobody knew. Then, graduation came. I had my ambitions. He wanted to follow his mentor abroad for further studies. We broke up. Honestly, she continued, her gaze distant. I knew what you wanted the moment you started paying attention to me. They say the best way to get over someone is to start something new. So, I accepted your pursuit. I stared at her numb. Despite everything, I had loved her once, wholeheartedly. Hearing her dismiss our entire history so casually, it still hurt, a dull ache deep inside. 6 months before everything fell apart, she went on. He came back, found me, told me he'd contracted some incurable virus during an experiment. Abroad, said he was dying. His only regret, his only dying wish, was me. He wanted us to get back together for the time he had left. He was dying, Arthur. How could I refuse him? I thought I'd just be with him until the end. Then I would explain everything to you. I was sure you'd understand, you'd forgive me. Her voice broke. But it was all a lie, a scam. Leo wasn't dying. He just wanted my money. She looked up at me then, her eyes pleading, desperate. I know I was wrong, Arthur. But somewhere along the way, being with you, I did fall in love with you too. Really, can't you just give me one more chance? Please. I stood up slowly, looking down at her crumpled figure. Evelyn, I said softly, your love is too cheap. And frankly, too toxic. I can't afford it anymore. We are finished. I wish you well. Find your own way. She grabbed at my trousers. But I made a mistake. My intentions were good. I was just manipulated. Arthur, you forgave me so many times before. You indulged me in everything. Can't you forgive me just one last time? No, I said firmly, gently detaching her hand. Then I turned and walked away, leaving her weeping by the storm drain. Evelyn left. My brother Ethan whisked his wife off on their belated vacation, leaving the entire Chi Corporation squarely on my shoulders. The next year flew by in a blur of meetings, decisions, and long hours. Work consumed me, but it was a clean, straightforward exhaustion, devoid of the emotional poison of my previous life. Eventually, however, I could no longer fend off my mother's persistent matchmaking efforts. I began cautiously meeting the women she introduced. The third candidate was Chloe Fu, the youngest daughter of a business associate. She had a round, cheerful face and a sweet, unassuming manner. We went on a few dates, discovering a comfortable rapport and mutual respect. A major business gala was approaching, and I invited Chloe to be my date. Stepping into the glittering ballroom, champagne flute in hand, Chloe looking lovely beside me, my eyes scanned the crowd and landed on a familiar figure. Evelyn. I'd heard sporadic updates from Sam. Apparently, Evelyn and Leo had struck some sort of devil's bargain. They worked together, concocting a scheme to frame Sarah Sue for embezzlement, successfully sending her to prison. Control of the company naturally reverted to Evelyn. She'd then ruthlessly purged all of Sarah's appointees and painstakingly wooed back the old, loyal employees. She even helped Leo secure lawyers to finalize his divorce from the incarcerated Sarah. They were seen everywhere together, seemingly inseparable, acting like a couple deeply in love. I'd assumed marriage was the next logical step for them, but no news had followed. And now, here she was, glaring at me and Chloe with the fury of a woman scorned. Before I could react, she lifted her champagne flute and flung its contents directly at Chloe. My reflexes were faster. I pulled Chloe slightly behind me, taking the splash of icy liquid across my own suit jacket. Chloe gasped, startled and pale. I put a reassuring hand on her back. "It's okay," I murmured. "I'm here." Evelyn's voice screeched across the opulent room, drawing startled glances. "Who is SHE? Why are you being so gentle with her?" She advanced on us, her voice rising. "Arthur Chi, I left to give you time to think things through, not so you could find some cheap little tramp." Chloe's face flushed with anger. "Tramp? Who do you think you are?" she demanded. "I'm Arthur Chi's girlfriend," Evelyn declared possessively. "Who are you? How dare you try to seduce my boyfriend?" Hearing the word tramp directed at Chloe ignited a cold fury within me. "Watch your mouth, Evelyn," I snapped, my voice sharp and cutting. "You and I broke up over a year ago. You frightened Ms. Fu. Apologize." Just then, Leo materialized beside Evelyn, looking concerned. "Arthur, come on. Evelyn is your girlfriend. You can't treat her like this, especially after she flew all this way specifically to propose to you." I stared, genuinely dumbfounded. Propose? Only then did I notice that Evelyn's gown, while elegant, bore a distinct resemblance to a simple, modern wedding dress. Chloe's face crumpled. She pulled her hand from mine, stepping back slightly. "Perhaps you should resolve this first," she said quietly, her eyes clouded with hurt and confusion. Frustration surged through me. Evelyn, oblivious or deliberately obtuse, was launching into some prepared speech, striking a dramatic pose. "Arthur, I know this is traditionally your role, but since I clearly love you more, will you?" Her words were cut off as another figure surged forward from behind me. A sharp crack echoed through the suddenly hushed ballroom as a hand connected soundly with Evelyn's cheek. If I weren't constrained by social niceties and gender, I would have done it myself. "Nice one," I almost muttered aloud. It was my mother, eyes blazing. "Who is this crazy woman?" she demanded, her voice ringing with authority. "How dare she accost a guest of Chi Corporation? Security, remove these two immediately." Leo, still seemingly oblivious to the gravity of the situation, started to protest. Evelyn was a woman, but Leo? Fair game. I swung, my fist connecting squarely with his jaw. He cried out in pain, stumbling back. Something small and translucent popped out from his nose, tearing the skin. Blood trickled down his face. So that's how his nose suddenly became so perfectly sculpted. Plastic surgery. Suddenly, a prominent society matron in the watching crowd gasped, pointing a jeweled finger at Leo. "Wait a minute. Aren't you that fellow from the Imperial Club? What was his name? Old Mr. Chung from Prosper Group and Mrs. Liu both kept you for a while, didn't they?" The Imperial Club was a notorious high-end establishment catering exclusively to wealthy women, known for its stable of handsome young men available for sponsorship. "No, it's not me. You're mistaken," Leo stammered, covering his bleeding, distorted nose as he scrambled away, disappearing into the crowd. I let out a short, sharp laugh, then turned back to Evelyn, whose face was now deathly pale. "Looks like your precious Leo had quite a few secrets he forgot to mention." My voice dropped, low and final. "Those who betray will eventually be betrayed, Evelyn. We are well and truly finished. If you ever appear before me again, I promise you, I will not be polite." Chloe, despite her sweet demeanor, had a fiery side. It took considerable effort and heartfelt apologies to soothe her hurt feelings and reassure her. But the incident, paradoxically, seemed to strengthen our bond. Our relationship progressed steadily. Soon, both our families were excitedly discussing engagement plans. On Valentine's Day, I was in my kitchen, meticulously preparing Chloe's favorite dishes, the ring box tucked safely in my pocket, planning to propose over a romantic home-cooked dinner. My phone rang. It was Samly. "Arthur," his voice was subdued. "Evelyn Jiang is dead. Leo Gu has been arrested." My hand, mid-stir, froze. "What happened?" Evelyn confronted Leo, Sam explained quietly. "Found proof he'd been seeing wealthy older women even back in university, while supposedly dating her. They argued violently. He lost control. Strangled her." I hung up the phone slowly, the aroma of garlic and ginger suddenly seeming too strong. Chloe wrapped her arms around me from behind, resting her chin on my shoulder. Her voice held a playful pout. "Who are you talking to on Valentine's Day?" "Samly," I answered honestly, turning to plate the Kung Pao chicken. He was reporting that Evelyn Jiang passed away. I placed the dish on the beautifully set table. "Your favorite," I said, turning to face her fully, offering a genuine smile. "Dinner is served, princess." The past was ash. It held no more power over me. From now on, I had my own pearl, precious and bright, infinitely more worthy of cherishing.